Good morning, everybody. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, please, first of all, allow me first to thank God that you are healthy and can participate today in the most important event for our energy community. I am especially honored and delighted to open the FOREN 2020 that brings together such a prestigious presence and to share together the main aspects of the future of energy policy on these unique and dramatic circumstances. To understand why we are here, where we went wrong, and what will energy of futures look like. So we have to analyze together all of these aspects and to understand what had happened. In the last 10 months of this year, we all realize that we live in a system of infinite complexity, in an extremely fragile balance affected daily by many factors. These factors such as oil price volatility that culminated this year in the oil crash, which hits also the energy markets, or factors as regional conflicts, migrations, acts of terrorism, wars with which we seem to have become accustomed already, climate change with increasingly disastrous effects culminated in fires of unprecedented size in 2019 in the Amazon forest or vegetation fires in Australia, considered a Chernobyl of climate change, or apocalyptic images of last month's in California fires. We as members of the World Energy Council, through our analysis, we have been summarized all these challenges from more than 20 years, 2 decades ago, in what is today well known as the energy trilemma, in 3 broad challenges: security, climate change, social inequality. Unfortunately, none of these challenges have diminished in recent years, but have increased from year to year, especially in this year. We notice a succession of this session changes. Summer began earlier and end later. In cities like Athens or Budapest, there are studies that predict 400 deaths in the summer, but millions will die globally due to rising temperature waves. The latest Iulian report launches a macabre warning. Mankind has less than a decade to reduce carbon dioxide emission, or it will be late, or it will be too late. Or if there is somebody with micro open, please close the micro. So we have a deadline before a climate catastrophe. We are in front of a deadline. Unfortunately, nothing has changed in the last decade. We have seen increases in temperature with 1 degree only in the last 10 years. But none of us has felt a dramatic influence of a war like the one generated by the pandemic coronavirus COVID-19. In the US, already the pandemic has killed in 2 months more people than the Vietnam War in 20 years. No health system and no government in the world has been prepared to fight the pandemic. Since the beginning of this year, World Energy Council conducted a survey that gives us an up-to-date picture of the impact of the pandemic on the energy sector. Our colleagues from all over the planet mentioned that we will not return to the same normality of life, and that it is not about a relaunch of social and economic life, but the reset of it. COVID-19 in the beginning of this year has forced the world into an economic pause. As The Economist April 11, 2020 mentioned, for 2 decades, they have shied away from the fact that the currency union cannot succeed unless its members share more risk. If they do not face up to today, the euro and perhaps the European Union itself will not survive. The fund estimates that emerging markets will need to respond on an unprecedented scale, at least 2.5 trillion euro over the course of the pandemic. France, the other day, launched a program for economic recovery of 120 billion euro. The economic crisis has only just begun, as Prime Minister Edouard Philippe warned on last Sunday. The government has expected a historic recession of 8% over the year. What happens in France also depends on what happens in Europe. As the pandemic evolved in neighboring countries, affecting international trade and supply chains and putting the Eurozone at risk. We are already talking about dizzying amounts, unimaginable until this year. What could be the solutions? We already know, we as all the Energy Council members, that the solution is a new digital revolution, a new technological revolution. But only now is humanity obliged to accept this new revolution. We know technology is power, but technology needs to adapt to climate change. Now we have the power to use the Green Deal to reset Europe and drive its economy. The public money that states and Europe will spend to reinvest in the economy must be consistent with the Green Deal. After the financial crisis in 2009, we lost a decade, and we had not yet demonstrated the profitability of housing renovation. Zero-emission cars were only prototypes. Wind turbines cost 3 times more than today, and solar 7 times. We have also to offer the necessary investment solutions in an action plan aligned with climate commitments to revive the economy after the crisis. The EU institutions should fully integrate the proposed national and European economic packages with the European Green Deal and help accelerate the necessary investments, notably to drive a renewable-based electrification. Millions of employees from Europe's renewable energy and energy efficiency value chains across the electricity, heating, cooling, building, and transport sector, as well as supportive associations, are sustaining this commitment. They call on the European Commission to fully integrate the proposed economic stimulus packages and the European Green Deal. Investments in a zero-carbon infrastructure and innovative solutions are the best and most cost-effective route to economic recovery on a national and supranational level, and while at the same time preparing the grounds for a secure and sustainable energy system. Bring forward the necessary investment for rapid recovery. Use the stimulus packages to accelerate investments in energy efficiency, renewable heating and cooling, electricity, mobility, zero-carbon buildings, smart grids like digital transformation of the energy sector and industrial process. In particular, we will take actions in areas where we can go further, like smart integration, offshore wind energy, energy storage, decarbonized gas, hydrogen, energy efficiency in the renovation of buildings, in the active participations of citizens and communities, in the necessary effort to make the crisis packages fair and inclusive. These topics will to tackle in this forum. The COVID-19 has now made the climate crisis go away. Green investments will be a key driver of the recovery, not an obstacle to it. We have to choose to accelerate the ecological transition when the time comes to reinvest in the economy. The EU members, states, and us as members of an World Energy Council have to prove solidarity for cooperation, dialogue, and finding common ground through multilateral institutions. This is also the best way to achieve a clean, green, and competitive global economy. The European Union is ready to lead the way. We can help, we as World Energy Council members, and contribute today, make it happen together. Dear friends, dear colleagues, I wish success to our special event, and please allow me, before concluding, to thank our members, partner, and our staff led by Mr. Gheorghe Ștefan, which through the contribution in these unique circumstances made this event possible. And I especially wish you and your families to be healthy and unaffected by this virus. But because I mentioned already some aspects of the important survey, I could say something which predicted from our members from all over the world what they estimated that will happen in this crisis with the energy sector. Please let me introduce Angela Wilkinson, which is our Secretary General and CEO of World Energy Council, a wonderful person which made a tough and extraordinary effort on these circumstances in this year, in this crisis. And I wish, and please kindly allow me to ask her to address her message to our distinguished participants in this energy forum in Romania.